Good morning. My name is Anahi Masip, and today I'm presenting my thesis project that is called The Effects of Teaching Vocabulary Through Total Physical Response with Students from 5th grade. So let's start. First of all, I'll start with the introduction and I'll explain why I selected vocabulary. The main reason is because without vocabulary, students cannot understand others or express ideas. And vocabulary is crucial to develop the four basic skills in English: writing, reading, speaking, and reading. I also selected the topic vocabulary because I identified that my students from 5th grade forget vocabulary easily and they cannot produce it in other tasks. So I decided to try TPR, that is a method developed by James Asher in 1977, and it involves the language associated with a series of actions that help learners to retain easily. Then I find my research question, focused to identify the effects of teaching vocabulary through TPR with students from 5th grade. Likewise, the general objective is to identify the effects of teaching vocabulary through total physical response with students from 5th grade. To sustain this project, I find out some authors that help me to build up this thesis. I start first with Bishop and Jupp in 2009 that develop four approaches to vocabulary instruction. The number one is providing extensive experiences with the language. The authors stated that vocabulary is learned through experiences with the language. So it means that students have to be engaged with spoken, read, and written language in multiple contexts. The number two, establishing a work conscious environment. They claim that in vocabulary instruction is necessary the promotion of students' interests, words, and word learning. They explain that teachers can stimulate and they can promote curiosity for words by exploring them. In number three, teaching words. In this instruction, it is necessary to teach words students need to know for particular purposes. So these words are known as specialized word vocabulary. The authors stated that teachers should teach and identify words that are important to understand the literature. In number four, teaching word learning strategies. The author just defined three strategies: use of words to unlock meaning, use of the context, effective use of the dictionary, and the purpose is to provide more than definitional information about words and ensure that students are given ample contextual information about words. On the other hand, Line in 2001 affirms that uh, young children need concrete vocabulary that have relation with objects that they can see or they can handle, and that it's important for kids to repeat the vocabulary many times again and again in different contexts to help increase their repertoire. James Asher developed a total physical response in 1977. This method involves the language through simple actions that help learners to retain information easily. Speech is directed to children that consists in responding physically by commands. The teaching of speaking is delayed until comprehension is established. Skills are acquired through listening, and teaching should emphasize meaning rather than form. Also, teaching should minimize learner stress. Adding information to this argument, Brown in 2007 claimed that memory is increased if it is stimulated or related to motor activity. Listening is accompanied by physical responses, and according to Diane 2000, vocabulary should be presented in chunks and not word by word. In that way, students' target language should be developed before speaking. Noonan in 2001 stated that to make vocabulary productive, students can take turns to give instructions because it's a good way to know if they are learning and they are comfortable. Finally, Carter and McCarthy in 1988 stated that TPR have a dramatic effect on memory because students are committed to learn the tasks by performing appropriate actions, and as a result students remember much more than if they were passive. Now I am going to explain the methodology. So I describe my context. This research took place in the primary school Santos de Gollado that is located in Puebla City. This school has 12 groups. Students have 2 hours of English classes. They are beginner level. The method that they use is the communicative approach, and the objective is to familiarize students with a second language, in this case English. The participants are 24 students from 5th grade that are between 9 to 10 years old. Now, I am going to explain you the method of collecting data. First, I have a meeting with the principal. I explain her about the project, to ask for permission to take more hours in the classroom, and also to record students. Second, I design a checklist. With this checklist, I support the observations that I want and that I expecting for the results. Then I ask a colleague that is an English teacher to fill the checklist individually, student per student. He entered to the class like 3 times, and in that way he was filling the checklist. Then I asked also to my colleague to record the class, and then I fill the observation format. At the end, I make a comparison between the checklist and the video. Well, now here are my 2 instruments that are a checklist and the video observation format. The checklist has 9 aspects to observe with yes/no answers, and the video observation format has 11 aspects that are focused to know the effects that the students are having with TPR activities. The 4 answers are yes, no, a few, and most. Well, now, deep in my instruments, I am going to explain you the analysis. At the end of filling the checklist, I have here my graphics. In number 1 is, does the student understand the commands? 20 students understand the commands and 4 are not understanding. Is the student interested while using commands? 22 students are interested and 2 of them are just not in class. In number 3, is the student responding physically to the commands? 20 students are responding physically and 4 are not. As you can see, in number 1 and number 3 we have maybe the same. 20 students are understanding commands and here are responding physically to the commands, and 4 of them no. In number 4, is the student stressed or anxious in class? And here I have 20 students that are relaxed and for students that are nervous, anxious, and stressed in the classroom. In number 5, is a student able to command on his or her own to others? Well, here 20 students can command others, and 4 of them just stay in silence in the class. In number 6, do the students recognize the vocabulary taught by listening the words? Here I have 20 students that can't recognize the vocabulary and 4 students that not. Well, how I identified this result? Because, for example, I said to the student, take the pencil, put it next to the ball. In that way, I can see if the student is making the physical reaction and is understanding the command. The pencil and next to. Well, is the student able to write the commands on the board? I found here a problem. 6 students are able to write the commands on the board without mistakes, and 18 students cannot write commands. In number 8, is a student enjoying moving around the classroom? 20 students are enjoying and 4 are not. Are shy students participating in TPR activities? 20 students are participating and 4 are not participating at all. Well, quickly I'm going to describe my video observation format. Most of the students are involved in class and they are participating and paying attention. Most of the students participate in class. Few students interact with others. Most of the students understand instructions in English. Most of the students express commands to others. Also, most of the students can read commands. All the students have good attitude in the class. In the video is shown that they are paying attention a lot. Students are not boring in class. They are attending because maybe it's their turn and they have to make the physical movement, or they have to command to others. Most of the students say commands to their own, and students can demonstrate with objects that they are understanding the instructions. Well, finally, summing up all the information and the results, I made a comparison between the checklist and the video. And I found that students understand commands, they can recognize vocabulary by listening the words, students reinforce vocabulary and develop other skills as listening. Students are interested, they participate, and they enjoy moving around the classroom. TPR activities reduce stress and anxiety in the class. Shy students and all class is involved because they are interested in add commands, understand them, and say them to other classmates. Well, I'm going to talk about my limitations. One of them was the lack of time. I would like to apply another instrument to reinforce data, to make them more specific for each student, and to know more effects, positives or negatives. But at the end, I think that with my 2 instruments, it was not so bad. I identified good results. Another thing, I'm going to talk about further research in this part. I recommend that TPR could be very monotony for some students, so it's recommendable to vary activities for all kind of learning styles. TPR activities help to break the ice in the classroom, to the classroom management, and also to reinforce things when your students are forgetting all the content or vocabulary that you taught before. Another further research is that TPR is not very recommendable for writing skills. So if you want to improve writing, you should apply another technique or method to increase this ability. So that's all. Thank you very much.